That's live. It's hard to say. It's always hard to say when we actually are live, but
Feels live.
what's up?
Hello,
Hello.
I am Marshall Stamper. This is Tahric Finn. Represent Taipei BJJ, TaipeiBJJ.com. We got some opinions today.
Juicy opinions. We're talking about why you suck at jiu-jitsu.
Why we suck at jiu-jitsu.
I mean, I kind of suck. Why do I suck? Seeing guys. I started jiu-jitsu in 2009. Seeing guys that started like 4 or 5 years ago come and start tapping me out.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Makes me sad.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a good humbling experience in Costa Mesa. I go there hanging with the Browns, tapped a black belt, and these young purple belts destroyed me.
Yeah.
It's very confusing.
It is very confusing, and kind of brings me to my number one reason why you suck at jiu-jitsu. And I saw this in myself as a white belt. It's just physicality. Like there's very little that can overcome just somebody that is just athletically talented.
Yeah.
And I had a friend that came to, I brought him to jiu-jitsu class before, but I already knew that this guy was one of those guys that he's just good at everything right away. He had done some Muay Thai before. I had the experience of bringing him to my soccer team, and he just became the star of the team. You know, I ended up sitting on the bench for him to play more.
It's a very unrelatable life for me.
Yeah. He came to.
I don't have this experience.
He came to my. I brought him to jiu-jitsu, and everybody was like, "Wow, how long's your friend been training?" Like he just got here. Like he just started training. He just had a sense of how to move his body, strong, fast. So this is very difficult to overcome. And I would say, if I was to put it into an equation, in jiu-jitsu, you might take years to be as good or to be able to control somebody who's just strong and fast. Sometimes it just can't be done, depending on how. If you don't have the strength, you might never be able to physically control somebody who just has like out of the womb gorilla strength and fast twitch nerves and just a very, what is that? Is it kinesthetic? Just sense of where your body is at all times. So a way to overcome this, which is my solution for everything, is lifting weights.
I'm gonna say training technique.
No, lifting weights.
Becoming hyper technical.
No, my way of challenging this is to you gotta
play their game.
Yeah, but I think there's never an advantage to being strong. I don't think. I can't see where it comes in as like, man, I wish I didn't have all these muscles. I don't think that ever is a problem. When I first started as a white belt, I remember there were times where I had some maybe upper white belts that had a hard time controlling me. There was even times where I could, from side mount, kind of just bench press guys off of me or roll them over. Even higher level belts. I mean, I wouldn't win, but I was still getting side mounted and mounted, but it was hard to keep me down until I gassed out. So they would go on the ride of me bucking and pushing, and then eventually once I got tired out, their experience overcame my whatever strength I had. But I always think to myself, like, now when I experience this, when a newer guy comes in and I have a hard time controlling them because of just how athletically gifted they are, it's like it would be a great experiment to take, an old experienced mind and put it in that new engine to see what could be done.
Yeah,
right?
and I'd say that's kind of what jiu-jitsu training is an attempt to make that happen.
Yes.
And we can't do it exactly, right? 'Cause by the time takes to get good at jiu-jitsu. The machine has worn down a little bit. But I'll share one thing that I experienced. So when I was a purple belt in California, my coach, one thing he really liked to do was have me go control and kind of dominate a new guy. And because, I'm skinny, I'm not imposing at all. And so there's one guy in particular who's this big, tan, super handsome, clearly just like the Newport Beach, like stereotypical, good genetic, full of himself. He had great hair, just a specimen of a man. And he comes in super hard. And because I was a purple belt in 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu, I had all this experience, I was able to destroy him technically, He's doing this, and I'm making angles on him, I'm cutting in, controlling him. Not easily, but dominantly. And then this last Chinese New Year, I ran into him again. This guy, he's been training, now he's a purple belt, and we got to roll again. And he was looking for revenge. And I am no longer able to dominate this man. It's come full circle.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing about jiu-jitsu. There are always ways to compensate and beat. And at some point, you get so good, a nice, strong, technical, athletic guy, not much you can do about it.
So number one reason why you're not good at jiu-jitsu is you're not strong, you're not athletically gifted enough would be. Yes.
Or
there's a way
hyper technical.
Yeah, you could be hyper technical. Hyper technical is a good way of, I guess, experience. Actually, no. Experience does not make you hyper technical.
No,
because
not everybody.
You can train for many years and not get hyper technical. I wouldn't consider myself hyper technical, and yes, there are guys that do come and lap me because they are much more technical. They listen better and
research.
They research. They're always on YouTube, and they believe in the move and believe in the position. So there's sometimes when you have a grip and there's a moment of panic where you let go and go somewhere else, where you're not believing in this grip, where you're not believing that this thing will work when somebody's moving around under you. And yeah, so there's the technical, but being technical and having this strong belief in the technique.
Yeah.
Like believing in the technique.
Faith in jiu-jitsu.
Yes. You need to. It does require some faith, because if you do not have this faith that the move will work, I would say most of the positions are very unnatural, and the reason why I say they're unnatural is because when teaching beginners, you could see what people naturally want to do. I mean, I was there before, but it's been so many years that sometimes it takes seeing it in other people to see what somebody actually does. Like you naturally want to get up, you naturally want to give your back, you naturally want to run away, you naturally want to turn away from danger.
Yeah.
These are all things that are terrible in jiu-jitsu. You naturally want to push, you naturally want to extend your arms, expose your neck. Like there's a lot of things that are, I would say most of it is counterintuitive to what comes naturally to a human being in panic mode, which is mostly what jiu-jitsu is putting you in positions where you're supposed to be panicked. These are generally bad positions. So not believing in the moves and not believing in the techniques will cause you to suck. It will once you go back to your base instinct to turn and run away. I mean, probably the only base instinct that works really well is the turtle. That's pretty basic. That's pretty instinctual. That kind of works for a little while, but I would say most of what you most of your feeling doesn't work. Your feelings and your emotions are not going to help you.
And this is kind of the whole point of jiu-jitsu, is you come in with moves and techniques. And so when I'm rolling with someone, what the feeling that I get is I'm throwing like math equations at them. and say, oh, can you solve this one? Okay, how about this one? How about this one? Making things more and more complicated, change the position more and more and more. We call it dragging them into deep water. And you can see when someone starts panicking, their breathing starts getting weird, they start making mistakes, and that's when jiu-jitsu actually works.
Yes.
Once someone's panicking.
Yes. And you could see it's almost like there's a scale. So when you first start, this panic starts immediately, and they make mistakes immediately, and you could submit newcomers pretty quickly generally, and then as they get better, as they move up in level, like for say like even once you get to even blue belt, which is more experienced than most people in the world, there's a longer sequence. You need a much longer sequence to get them to make that mistake to open that up. But
And one way to make this pass shorter, lift cleats.
yes.
Gotta have strong.
Get strong.
This guy's been telling me for years,
Get
get
strong.
strong.
You gotta get
I
strong.
did 5 push-ups today, I'm not bragging.
Getting strong. I mean, if you're flexible, that's good too. That's another great thing to have. Having good cardio is another one. Is a great thing to have. Another reason why, like I mentioned, why some people suck at jiu-jitsu is just time. Putting in time in training. Like
So much time.
if you are a 2-day-a-week hobbyist, do not expect to be as good as the 5 to 7-day-a-week guy that is really going for it.
Yeah. And if you're a 7-day-a-week guy, don't expect your body to feel as good as the 2-day-a-week guy.
Yeah, you're gonna be much more beat up, much more injured, but you
will progress very fast.
You'll be better. Yes, you'll pass them, and yeah. So we're kind of like gearing this towards people that are, I guess, really going for it. I think as a hobbyist, you don't really have a hurdle that you need to cross as a hobbyist. I think everybody wants to get better. Everybody eventually would like to get a black belt. I consider myself a hobbyist. I would like to get to black belt. I'm not actively competing. I'm not in the gym 7 days a week. So
hey, you're ducking me, man.
yeah, yes.
Trying to compete.
Yes. Yeah, so I'm not trying to compete. So as a hobbyist, I don't have the expectations to be amazing, but it does hurt me when people do lap me, and newer guys. There's a lot of guys that maybe started out after I got my blue belt or after I got my purple belt that are now starting to submit me, and it makes me want to train more. But the fact is, I'm not putting in the time that they're putting in, and I cannot expect the results.
Yeah, time's hard, man.
Yeah.
Especially you got family, you got a business.
Yeah, that like
hard.
It's eventually, I don't know. For me, there came a time where I asked myself, why am I putting so much time into this?
Jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. Like why am I training so much?
It's the juice of life.
Yeah, I mean it's fun, but eventually, at least for me, I can't speak for everybody else. At least for me, I said, okay, there's other things I need to do. I need to concentrate on other aspects of life and try to make some money. And So.
And this is one thing that I had a good conversation with a friend of mine who's a 10th planet purple belt lady, as well as a therapist, full-time therapist, and she broke it down for me that a lot of people use jiu-jitsu to escape these other things in their life.
Yes.
They're embarrassed, they don't have money, it's hard to deal with, so just keep training, don't worry about it. Family situation's not good, it's too uncomfortable, okay, just keep training. And I do think there is a time and a place where that's reasonable.
It is a good escape. I think it's much better. It's a much better escape than say drinking, or just getting high all the time. I think
get high at jiu-jitsu.
Any physical activities are not the worst escape. There's a benefit to escape. I mean, I teach kids, and they're really into gaming. And
my God.
I think jiu-jitsu, in my opinion, is a much more productive way of expending your energy than gaming, because I think with gaming, you have this 1% that can make money from it. You can make money. There are some people that make money from streaming. If you're a charismatic person, or if you're really good at the game and you get into competition
And
and
a
you're
beautiful
training
girl.
it and you're training it all the time, they could stream too. But for most people, gaming is not going to lead anywhere. Where jiu-jitsu, not only jiu-jitsu, like let's say you're into playing pickup basketball or anything like that where you're out training with other people and meeting other people, I think it's a much more productive means of escape. Eventually, you need to stop the escape or
Yes. That's what I was getting at.
reduce it.
Yeah, and that's a really tricky part of maturing and getting older. I've struggled with this myself because jiu-jitsu is so fun. There's nothing more fun than fighting with the bros. And it's rewarded, and it's like we got competitions and we got, future plans for businesses, and there's lots of things that go into it that can help you justify the escape.
Yes.
And I don't know what my point is.
The unfortunate thing, like it is a great escape, but one unfortunate thing, and this is another, I'm going to tie these things in.
Are you?
Another reason why you suck at jiu-jitsu is you're prone to injury.
Oof. Yeah.
If you are prone to injury and you're, like I said, we're talking to people that are really going for it. If you are prone to injury, especially if you don't address these injuries, you're going to be terrible. You're not going to be very good. You're going to always be limited by your injury because you are not, I guess, letting the thing heal long enough, and you keep aggravating the same injury. So say you have a bad knee, you keep aggravating this bad knee. You're not taking out the months that it may require to be okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to step away from the game for quite a long time, and it's very it sucks. But this is a marathon, so sometimes you do have to step away from the game for a long time to let things heal, to be healthy enough to compete in what is a dangerous game.
Yeah.
And so that's going to limit you. Like if you don't do it properly, you're not going to get very good. But the problem is, as we're talking about with the escape and the social aspect, because even myself, most of the friends that I have right now are people from jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of these friends, I've built a friendship with them enough that we could meet outside of jiu-jitsu, So if you want to be able to meet with people outside of jiu-jitsu. Me and Marshall will go out sometimes. Coach Dimitri will go like camping and stuff like that. But you can't meet everybody outside. And like this big social network that you have in jiu-jitsu, if you do take this time out for injury and all of your friends are in jiu-jitsu, you are socially isolating yourself too. So this is one of the things where jiu-jitsu is not good as say like, I don't know, a chess club or a social club or a church or something, because it's very dependent on your physicality.
Yeah.
So that's a big mark. I would say that's a big mark against the social aspect of jiu-jitsu. If you're not strong and healthy, you can't be around these friends.
Yeah. And there are some ways around it. I always think of this guy who's on our wrestling team. Very early in the year, he hurt his thumb, and he sat out the entire year. He wore a ridiculous brace.
Yeah.
We're like, oh yeah, your thumb hurts? And he just came and cleaned the mats for us.
Yeah.
And hung out. And so if you're that like socially dependent on jiu-jitsu, you can come up with creative ways.
Yeah.
But I've never done it. I've never been the guy who comes just to watch. It's always recommended, and you can learn a lot just from watching jiu-jitsu, but it's tough. It's not the same.
And I think just coming to watch, it adds the pressure to push yourself beyond your injury and get back onto the mats. So, at least for me, that's what it would do. I mean, I do have other things outside of jiu-jitsu, but I do feel for anybody that does not have a lot going on outside of jiu-jitsu. I really feel for those guys because, yeah, if you do get injured, and you will get injured, like what do you do during that time?
Yeah, and that goes in what they're saying about escaping your other responsibilities in life. If work sucks, but you're just moving forward, and your family sucks, but you're moving forward, and maybe you don't have a good relationship with a significant other, it's tough. It's very, very tough. We were talking to guys about that during pandemic time when jiu-jitsu was, it was illegal, I guess.
Yes.
And we're like, what else do you do for your mental health? And these guys are like, nothing, like not a single other thing. And it's like, that's tough.
Yes. So
another thing about injuries, man, is like people in America, for example, like it's not easy or cheap just to go to a doctor and see like what's hurt, right? Like you go get an MRI. I don't know, maybe someone watching is in America, has this experience. We're blessed. We're in Taiwan, where you can go get an MRI cheap. It's cheap. It's fast.
yeah, it'll be less than 100 US. I think I got an MRI years back. I'm gonna say it was I probably paid out of pocket like maybe $20.
Yeah, my girlfriend just got one. She got a sinus thing.
Yeah.
And she paid $7 American.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's normal. I don't know if there's a fluctuation.
There's a fluctuation based on, because I'm going through this with my family, is that as a kid, your parents basically are going to decide your level of insurance. So you start buying insurance for young kids, and that will determine when you go to the hospital. Are you going to get a private room? Are you going to? But so yeah, it is a tiered level insurance here. But even as public insurance, which is what I have because I came as an adult and I just get insurance through work. Medical costs is never a consideration. I don't think twice about going to the doctor or like how much is this going to cost.
As opposed to I'm in America, it's all I think about. Like if I get in a car accident, like fly me to Taiwan. Like if my knee gets hurt in jiu-jitsu, like I'm just getting on a plane. So yeah, I really feel for guys like in America who are always
400. It says costs in the United States can range from 400 to 3,500 or more per scan.
What a range!
Per one scan.
What a range!
Yes.
It might cost $3,000 extra.
Yeah. And I mean, number one reason for bankruptcy in the U.S. is medical emergency. So yeah, I feel for your people.
Yeah. What a reason to stay here.
I feel for your people. Yeah.
And we've said it before. We should say it every time we record, man. Jiu-jitsu coaches, you want some cheap medical stuff? Come train with us in Taiwan.
Yeah, Taiwan.
Teach us some things. Get an MRI.
Medical tourism. It's a great idea to come to Taiwan for medical tourism.
And we have tea.
Medical tourism, dental tourism. We're awesome. We're awesome guys to hang out with.
We're cool.
Awesome.
We know a cigar lounge.
Yes. Yeah. So, yeah. If you have just nurse those injuries, otherwise you're gonna continue to suck at jiu-jitsu. Another reason why you suck at jiu-jitsu, and this is it's gonna be hard to say because it's gonna be offensive and it's not politically correct, is money. Jiu-jitsu costs money. It's even more costly than certain things like say boxing or some other, I guess, poor man's martial arts. You're looking at, for most schools, you're looking at least 100 US per month.
I'd say a little higher these days.
Yeah.
120, 150.
Yeah, so
Normal.
for 150 a month, and you want to be consistently paying that for years and years and years to get good.
Yep.
So
you got to buy cool rash guards.
yeah. So unfortunately, the
Cool
fact is that not having money is a hindrance in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And there's maybe I've heard a few stories of this in Brazil, where a guy gets a coach sees talent in a young kid and takes him under their wing and gives them free training. You hear this story in the US a little bit, but for the general population, if you are not a prodigy, nobody's taking you under their wing. And
it's a business.
yeah, you got to pay for it. So the harsh reality is if you don't have the money, if you don't have the money to join a school, buy the clothes, and also competing will help you get better.
Oh my
But
God.
if you also want to compete too, you're
expensive.
you're easily looking at $100 per tournament,
Eh.
and this is kind of just general. It goes higher. There's travel on
Ah.
top of it, and this all might be. You might pay, let's say, I pay $150 to get into this tournament. I travel across the country. That's maybe like let's throw out $500, and I get tapped out in the first match, and it's
Yep.
over.
Yep.
And all that down the drain. And this is all part of it. So yeah, I don't want to gloss over the fact. This is a fact. We don't talk about it a lot because it's kind of assumed, or you assume that this is. Everybody knows what's up, but this is a harsh reality. Is yeah, you gotta have money to play this game. Generally speaking, unless you have somebody who has like mats like these, but usually that person will be experienced, and that experience will come from years of paying hundreds of dollars a month to get good at it. So
And even, realistically having a nice spot like this in Taipei,
Costs
every
money.
time someone comes here, they're like, how much are you paying?
yeah.
And the truth is, I pay a little higher than most people. It is what it is.
You gotta have money. You gotta have money to train in this game.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, like I would say
Space,
even
equipment, and instruction.
yeah, like something like basketball. If you're playing pickup ball, you could find, especially out here, you find courts everywhere. You just need a ball. You just need a ball, a pair of shoes, and some good knees. and
You gotta buy some knees.
and you could run around. You could run around on concrete, cutting back and forth. I can't. Yeah, I don't want to do that. But yeah, it all costs money. So something
That's tough.
to definitely consider. And if
Yeah.
you don't have the money, it's going to be very difficult to get very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we joke about this too, because there's some guys that go the extra mile, and it's almost as if they're gaining power from having lots of gis and having lots of new rash guards. So another reason, like you're not any good if you don't have a shoyu, if you don't have 5 shoyu roll rash guards or anything
You don't have a
custom
blessed
made.
Taiwan rash guard.
Yes. Yes. So
Yeah.
it is a money game, and we're trying to get money out of it too. But it does cost money to get to any level in jiu-jitsu. So this is realness.
Yeah.
So Derek Robinson says sometimes
What's up, Derek?
it's close to $200 a month.
$200 a month, yeah.
Yeah.
Some academies.
Yeah, man.
I think even some of the more famous ones, I think John Jock might be at 400. I think, yeah, price is just what people will pay, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if you're in an affluent area with a famous name, like I'd be curious. I wonder like what Marcelo's is in Manhattan, famous
Yeah.
academy.
Yeah, just the rent there would be ridiculous. So
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, man. So yeah, you gotta have money. We already said athletic ability. This one is a weird one, and this is hard to determine, and you will not be able to determine this as a beginner. But just having a bad instructor.
Yeah.
But how does I don't know how you can. This is gonna be a hard one to suss out whether you have a
Yeah.
bad instructor or not.
Yeah, you kind of got to ask other people. They're like, kind of got to feel it out. And honestly, I think a bad instructor can help a lot of people, because you get mat time, you get experience, you still have a community. And if at some point you realize you have a bad instructor, you make a switch, you go, oh, it's like such a great learning experience. So I wouldn't say like, this isn't one to dwell on too much. It's real. But it's not something to really, I don't think it's a good thing to have on your mind if you're starting out jiu-jitsu. I think starting out jiu-jitsu should be how convenient is the location? Is it clean? Can you afford it? Things like that. Level of instructor, it's very tricky. Yeah. Because you don't want to be the guy who comes in like, I don't know about this guy. And then like you're arguing with them like, oh, what about this, huh? Oh, what if I did this, huh? And it's like, well, all right. I don't know. It's a tricky one.
I think it's.
It's a
I think
tricky
as a
one.
beginner, you're not really gonna know who's good or bad. So,
And even a bad instructor, you can learn a lot from,
as long as there's other students, I
as
mean,
long as it's safe.
that's
I would
true.
say that's a bad instructor is people are just getting hurt in class.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
It's not safe.
Yeah. Eventually, I think as long as you can roll in the class, you're going to be making each other better anyways.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, a good instructor can push your improvement a lot faster.
Of course.
So, this is another one that I think is, and I think we're kind of guilty of this too. Like say with our tutorials and whatnot, is I think a lot of people, myself included, will concentrate a lot on being the hammer, like meaning I will practice submissions on people and maybe
course.
not so much practice just escaping mount or escaping back control or just more practice being in bad positions and not assuming that you're going to be starting or things start off favorably, and there's a rude awakening that comes to some people in competition when you start standing, and it's very hard to get into the position that you want, or you find that you might. And I've had this experience once where I quit in a bad position.
Really?
Yes, it was a move that I had never experienced it before. It was like not a full arm bar, but the guy was kind of like squeezing my head in between his legs.
Yeah.
And
I tapped that like 2 days ago.
yeah, well, that was harder. But I'm saying from looking back, it was not something that I would have tapped to now. But it was just I had not.
Panic.
Yeah, I panicked because I didn't have enough experience in these bad positions. So I didn't have enough experience with just guys on my neck or just people just mounting me or being smothered, not being able to breathe, just unpleasant situations. I was too focused on the sweet side of the sweet side of being on the winning end. You know?
And I think that's one thing that me and you were good at with training here. Because we're in a small space, we usually do positional rounds. We play king of the mat, where you start in a situation, and if you tap the other guy, you stay in. And I always ask Tahric, like, okay, which one's the king? So yesterday we did back mount, right? So you start EBI overtime, you have a seatbelt and 2 hooks. I ask him, which one's the king? And he says the guy in front, the one in the worst position in jiu-jitsu.
The king should be in the worst position.
So if you're winning, you start in the worst position. And I think that's a really great way to train. So you have to escape, reverse the situation, tap the other guy, and then do it again. And that's a phenomenal way of overcoming this. That it's really kind of hard to do in other gyms, right? Because usually a class goes like you teach something, you drill something, and then you start neutral, you know? And so it's easy as a coach to get in that position and just dominate. It's so fun. I've done it a lot. And it's humbling to be like, all right, guys, you start on my back, and realistically, you're going to tap me a lot. It's really hard on the ego to put yourself in that situation.
Oh man, the ego. Yes,
Yeah.
the ego is another thing. Is not
Forever a struggle.
Yes, you will never get good at jiu-jitsu until you accept that your ego must die.
Yeah.
Like I was talking about this with Marshall the other day. There's a guy that Paul Darsmania.
Yeah.
This
guy smoked us.
And he's a very unassuming guy. And I'm pretty sure I've been training longer than him, and he kind of reversed a position that I'm really good at. I like the arm in guillotine, and he turned that into a head and arm choke. I get head and arm choked, and then right after that, he immediately just darsed me, and it was kind of a humbling experience. I kind of just sat on the mat after, like, just thinking about what just happened.
Yeah, he passed my guard, man. Very few people are passing my guard these days.
Yeah, and so you have to accept it. Like you have to eat it. You have to tap. You have to just say thank you after.
Yeah.
Don't make any excuses.
No.
Don't be that guy. Don't be like, well, I was about to escape, and if you do that, you suck. Like, don't be,
Yeah.
don't be. Yeah, I don't want to hear it. I don't like to. I don't think anybody really loves hearing excuses. I mean, if I get something on Marshall, I might ask him, was that a choke or was that a neck crank?
Yeah,
and I want to know if it's a neck crank.
Yeah. Feedback's good.
Yes, feedback is good. But if he neck cranks me and I tap, I'm not going to be like, man, that was a crank.
Yeah. I'll be like, yes, it was. And you should have tapped.
Yeah.
I've had people do that in my class before. I wish I remember who this guy was, but he was like a Kaohsiung BJJ guy, just moved to Taipei. And we started back mount, and we're doing things. And I tapped him, and he turns to me and goes, actually, that was a crank? I'm like, yeah. Yes, it was. 'Cause, yeah, it's a funny thing in jiu-jitsu. Like, oh no, you're supposed to do it differently. It's like, well, you should tap.
Yeah. So you got to, if you cannot like shed yourself of this pride, it's not gonna work well for you.
Yeah.
You're never gonna get very good. I mean, guys that I train with that are really good, I've seen them get tapped. I've seen them get tapped. Guys that I think are amazing, I've seen them get tapped.
Everybody taps.
And they even put themselves in bad positions to get tapped. There's guys that I know that are better than me that there's times when I've tapped them and they just accept it.
Yeah.
Like, I got them that day, but in my mind I already know this guy's better than me. 9 times out of 10 he beats me.
Yeah.
I'm lucky today, and I'm not going to go around bragging about, man, I got that guy today, man. He's
trash, dude.
He's trash. I heel hooked him. He never saw it.
I was in a moment yesterday. Like I said, we're doing back mount, and I have very big ego with my back control. I think I'm very good in that position, very comfortable, and we're doing it with our buddy Jay. Jay's a very intense man, a long time blue belt.
Yes.
And I would just say that we're technically better than him. Like our knowledge of jiu-jitsu and whatnot, all ego stuff, right? My ego is just getting inflated. I'm gonna tap this dude again and again and again. And he got me in something that very few people do. It's a kind of a white belt move where I crossed my feet and he put a lot of pressure on my ankle.
Yeah.
Usually guys do this to me, and I have very flexible ankles, and so I had in my mind, like, oh, it's not real. But something about the way he was doing it, the angle, I don't know if it's on purpose or not, it doesn't really matter, right? I felt pressure in my ankle. I was about to get injured. I could have squeezed his neck. He doesn't tap easy. It's okay. I tapped.
He got me. He got me with that.
Yeah. And so you got to go through that thought process.
Yeah, the most white belt technique.
Yeah.
I felt bad. I'm like, this is not supposed to work.
Yeah.
But it worked.
And usually we got a camera on us too.
Yeah, it worked. It worked.
Filming.
It's on camera. It worked really well. I got tapped by it. But it's good. It's good. And
so these ego things continue.
Yes.
Always.
Yeah. Like,
Always.
and there are times where, but yesterday, from the session yesterday, I didn't leave feeling this feeling of running things over and over in my mind of what went badly, because it was just, we had an intense session. Everybody was getting tapped, and it was okay. But
we did 30 minutes King of the Mat.
Yeah, but
everybody taps.
There are times when I do feel like, why did this happen? And I'll run this scenario over and over in my mind for like the rest of the day.
You've done that like recently?
Yeah. Every time I get tapped by a lower belt.
I see.
It'll like, and especially if it's like kind of like a basic position, like say I get arm barred by a blue belt, and I think, why did this happen, or what was I letting happen?
And you find this helpful?
No, it's not helpful. It's not helpful at all. It's not helpful.
Because it could be like, if you come to a conclusion.
I do. I mean, I quickly, the conclusion comes pretty quickly.
Okay.
Like
So you learn something.
Yeah, I come to a conclusion very quickly. But the rolling over and over in my mind, no, that's not helpful at all. That's just all ego.
Okay.
And I know that I still always have to remind myself that I need to let go of this ego. but at least my ego is down enough that I'll roll with that guy. I'll roll with the lower belts that have beat me before, and knowing that they could beat me again, and I'm okay with it. So I just know that, and it's the thing that I love about jiu-jitsu, and I was explaining this to my students yesterday, is that I told them, like I said, I have these, they're kind of new to it, and I said to them, like, the point of me teaching you guys this, A, is to learn how to defend yourself. But B, is that I want to show you that fighting, when two guys are going at each other and they both want the same thing, that it's not going to be easy. Like there's no, it's not like magical Aikido where you're just flipping them over. Like there's going to be constant struggle. You're going to be breathing hard, and even if you win, you will probably be hurt as well. So this is also part of the lesson, is that fighting is not easy. If you can avoid it, don't do it, because as you can see, even guys that are unassuming, or in your mind you think, I'm gonna beat this guy up, but the reality is we both want the same thing, and when two guys come together, it's not going to be easy. So all the moves,
chaotic.
The moves and techniques that we show you, these are all ideal situations. And I say to students, this is perfect scenario, no struggle. This is what you're going for. This is how you do an arm bar. This is how you do a triangle.
Which is important. That's how you learn.
Yes, you learn. You learn in a perfect situation, but in the actual chaos of the situation, it's not going to be easy. So
which is like, I always think about there's these like Gracie self-defense classes. Where they're like, they only do perfect situations and they don't roll. And so I think that's like kind of the genius of jiu-jitsu. What kind of separates it from other martial arts is you're able to practice ideally, which I think every martial art has that, right? Like in boxing, you hit a perfect combo. And every martial art deals in what's perfect. You land a super sweet 3-kick taekwondo combo. And then jiu-jitsu, you put it to the test. We call it battle testing it. So in my class, if I teach a situation and I know it's very nuanced, we'll start rolling in that situation, right? So if it's a head and arm choke, we start with the grip. And one thing that you notice very fast is that it's not easy to get, right? Even if you start right there, they slip out, they flip it over, weird things happen. And that's the genius of jiu-jitsu, is you learn ideally and have to put it in practice chaotically. And that's the beauty, is like, who can do that in the most chaotic of situations? And that's why we're addicted.
And that's why you got to be strong.
Strong helps. And you got to put in lots of time. Which costs money.
Breathing, controlling your breathing, being in control, being calm. This is also ties in with ego. This disbelief of what's happening, like, I can't believe what's happening. Don't do that. You will not be good if you cannot connect reality to yourself. Like, I'm not the kind of guy that gets mounted. You know, I'm not a guy that loses fights. You know, I'm not a guy that loses fights. When I get angry, I see red and it's over. Nobody can stop me. So back to ego. A lot of these things go back to ego. Focus on your breath. Be calm. Deal with the pressure. Just embrace this moment. You're not out yet. Regroup.
And so the worse the situation, the more important it is to focus on your breath. There's a reason why almost every new age spiritual system kind of boils down to breath. That's kind of all it is. So in Vipassana, you go on a 10-day meditation retreat, as I've done many times. 3 days, all they tell you is feel your breath here. Wim Hof, all he's doing is teaching you how to breathe. Even in things like karate, it's all, it's like focusing on your breath, matching it to your movement. And so in jiu-jitsu, we don't talk about this a lot. Like, it's kind of extracurricular training. But people who don't know how to breathe, man, they don't they don't get very far in jiu-jitsu. And so I know there's a guy who I always size him up immediately. He's a very anxious young man who's very good at jiu-jitsu. He's stuck with it long enough to reach a high level. And when we're training, we start like this. I have very good breathing. And he will and dive in and make a mistake every single time. I can hear it coming. It's like a 3, 2, 1. Panic, mistake. It happens all the time. Hickson Gracie even talked about this. He was the master of breathing. His autobiography is just called Breathe. And he says he focuses on the breath so much. So his heart rate is, I don't know, heart rate numbers, let's say 80. The other guy's 100, picks up the breathing, picks up the pace. He's at 90, the other guy's at 120. And through this process, he will outpace the other guy will panic, the other guy will make a mistake. It's inevitable. And so breathing, like I focus on breathing every single morning, and it's hard. It's a hard thing to do. And I don't know anything more important than breathing. It ties in with everything.
It's pretty important.
Yes. The bridge between the conscious and the unconscious is the breath.
That's pretty important.
Is that cool?
That's pretty important.
Is that good? Clip it.
Are there any other things that you think that people specifically in jiu-jitsu don't concentrate enough on to get good? Like, so for my thing is just grip fighting.
That's hard.
The reason why is grip fighting is boring and it stalls matches, and in a class it prevents you from engaging.
Yeah. It kind of seems obvious too.
Yes, but
Yeah,
it's
but it's not.
something that we don't do because it stalls out the match, and it stalls this engagement that the fun part of jiu-jitsu. So there's one guy that I used to do. His name is Chris. He does the Muay Thai guy, kind of tall.
I'm not sure.
Anyways, I know of maybe 1 or 2 guys that I've had as training partners that they'll just be like, they will spend the round actually and will just be grip fighting, just fighting for those grips. If
Kung Fu guys are like this
if
a lot.
somebody gets a takedown, that's good. If we get to the ground, that's good. But we've already agreed that none of us are giving grips. I'm not giving you this position to start with.
Yeah.
And just being able to do this, to grip fight, and knowing the importance. Like judo is all just that's all judo is grip fighting. And I think it's something that's neglected a lot, even though it's taught in all classes, but it's not practiced because it's just boring.
It's boring. It's weird. Like if I'm in a battle with a guy like this and he really cares about the grips, I'll just give up a grip, just to get to the action.
Yes.
And there's some strategy about that, right? Because this is like what my Tai Chi teacher says. Like if you grab someone or they grab you, kinetically it's the same thing, right? So there are counters and reversals, but if the guy knows Kung Fu, if the guy's a Tai Chi master and he's got a grip on you, there's a reason, and it's gonna come out down the line. Gi Jiu-Jitsu is much more about grips, and that's kind of one thing that we find annoying about it. They get one grip in the beginning of the match. It doesn't seem like much. 3 minutes later, there's a choke. Okay, cool, that's fun. And no gi jiu-jitsu, I think this is one of my competitive advantages, is people think there's no grips in no gi, and that's not true. Like I'll show you one that I've been doing this to everybody. Been coming through here and just doing this to every single person. A little wrist lock, makes their elbow up, and it's made jiu-jitsu a lot more fun. I do that, a little wrist lock, they underhook, they arm drag. So there's a lot to it. It's really hard. Word on the street is that the best way to learn this is Joseph Chen's BJJ Fanatic instructional. I recommend everybody give that man all your money. I know everybody has lots of money, and so give it to Joseph Chen. It's my advice.
What about wrestling? Do you think people wrestle enough?
No, and I think that's kind of reasonable. Wrestling is very hard.
It's dangerous too.
It's hard, it's dangerous, it sucks. So for example, me and Tahric, we've been training on these little mats for years. We can't really wrestle on these mats. There's not enough space. So when I'm in a gym with lots of space, that's one of the first things I do. That's all I want to practice is wrestling. And wrestling is an incredible way of learning something perfectly and having it never work. You know, I can teach every single person how to get a single leg, how to run a pipe. Okay, now do it. And almost nobody can actually do it. Very, very few people can make it work, and that's kind of the beauty of it.
So timing based. Yeah.
It's so timing based, it's so athletic, it just takes a long time, and it sucks. And as adults, most people get into jiu-jitsu as adults. They work in an office, their bodies aren't in great shape, and wrestling is the easiest way to just get a catastrophic injury. You know, you're falling down, you put your arm out. Don't send me these videos anymore, guys. A guy puts his arm down, and his bone shoots out of his elbow.
This happened to my niece. My niece is a collegiate and university wrestler, and in back in her high school, one high school match, she took a girl down, and her arm got broken that same way.
Yeah,
it happens a lot.
It's a very normal way. You feel yourself going down, you want to stop the motion, and you do. It works, but your bone can't handle it and shoots out. Don't send me these videos, guys. I know about it. So that's why we break fall. Judo is really good about this. It's all break falls. That's half of the game.
Yes.
But if you're break falling during a takedown, you're giving up the takedown. You're conceding. So in wrestling, you're losing, right? Yeah. And one other thing about wrestling, man, is like, I was a high school wrestler and I found it incredibly difficult. And so when I came to jiu-jitsu and I learned you could pull guard, I was like, this is fantastic. Because in wrestling, they always told us the lower person wins. That's why wrestlers always crouch down. Yeah. They say stance is 80% of the battle. And if you pull guard on someone, you're lower than them. And so I was immediately like, oh, that's strategically advantageous.
Yeah, pulling guard nullifies all wrestling, pretty much. At least the stand-up part of wrestling.
Or, yeah, I would say... And so nowadays, there's a good word for this. They call it wrestling up. I hadn't heard this until recently. But that's a genius way to do it. But if you're wrestling up, but you've never wrestled, it's tricky, right? I could show anybody how to get a single leg from the bottom, but then what do you do about it? You never wrestled before, it's not obvious. Uh-oh. So wrestling is incredibly important. I try to start all my classes with a little bit of wrestling, even just pummeling. Pummeling is incredibly important, especially as you're passing guard or trying to play rubber guard. So yeah, I think using wrestling as a way to get good at guard work, especially no-gi, is vital. I'm going to do it in every single one of my classes, probably always. But straight wrestling, like me and Jay, we wrestled 5 minutes the other day. We were exhausted, man. We were exhausted, and we agreed we're not going all the way. We're not slamming each other. We're not picking each other up. And it was still dangerous. It was still scary, and I wouldn't recommend it for everybody. Only certain psychos.
It's hard for grown people to wrestle because
it's for children.
It is a lot of slamming. Yeah, it is for children.
And if you're going to ADCC, if you have big dreams, of course it's like 80% of your training now.
You got to wrestle, yeah.
And so it's becoming a big division in why are you training? You got to find a place that has room to wrestle. It's the most dangerous thing. Like, I used to get so upset, man. At PMA, it was a crowded spot. We're training very hard, and two guys would be wrestling like right here. And I'd turn to the coach and be like, dude, this is so dangerous. And he'd be like, yeah, just yell at them. It's like, that's my job? I gotta roll and yell. What? And that's part of the reason I had to back away from training there. Because it is like, because when you're shooting for wrestling, if you're trying to take a man down, it's so chaotic and it's so hard. You have to do whatever you can to get there. And so if people are on the ground nearby, they will get slammed on. It's inevitable. Maybe not now, maybe not today, but if you do it every single class, people are going to get catastrophically injured.
Yeah, just even if they're not like running through guys. Just in the process of catching your balance,
Yeah.
you're going to. It takes space. It always takes space.
Lots of space.
It takes a lot of space.
Lot of space.
Yeah.
And that's part of jiu-jitsu is there's usually not much space. That's why you start on the ground, you start compact, and it's reasonable. So in my classes when we used to do wrestling, we would clear the mat, everybody on the wall, 2 people wrestling, sometimes can get 2 groups of 2 people wrestling, but it's divided, it's calm down. To have 2 people wrestling in a room where everybody else is on the floor is absolutely insane. It's so dangerous.
But unfortunately,
it's crazy dangerous.
It's still something you need to be good at to compete. You need to.
And that's why it's tricky.
Yeah, you need to be good at it to compete because
Yes.
if guys are gonna wrestle you, and if you're gonna face a wrestler or a judoka, and they're going to be trying to lift you off your feet and you don't know what to do, even the defensive part, that is wrestling. So
Oh my God,
in order
yeah.
to defend wrestling, you have to be able to wrestle.
Yeah, and people wrestling up on you now, that's a new thing that
Yeah, so
incredibly
if
important.
you want to be really good at jiu-jitsu, you got to know how to wrestle.
Yes.
There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Agreed. If you want to learn how to wrestle, come to my class. Private lessons available.
All right. Well, I think these are most of the reasons why you suck at jiu-jitsu, why I suck at jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. I feel very targeted. I feel called out.
Especially the ego stuff. That's all me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's you.
But I don't express this usually. I only tell you guys, but guys that I train with, I don't usually tell them that my feelings are being hurt when they tap me out.
Yeah.
Because I don't think, and this is advice to any of you, do not say anything other than good match, man.
Yeah.
Or thanks for the roll.
Thank you is always appropriate, win or lose.
Yeah. Good
Can
job.
always just say thank you.
Thank you. Good roll. That's it.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to hear your whining.
You just got me because I didn't sleep well last night and I was thinking about something. I was trying a new
My
move.
elbow's a little sore and I just worked out and my finger. I have this thing with my thumb and this thumb goes this way, but this thumb doesn't bend this way. So this
Actually,
this
that was
way-
more of catch wrestling
this
than
way,
jiu-jitsu, and we're here to do jiu-jitsu, so
Yeah, you kind of squeezed my head, and it was the way that my neck was turning. I just tapped because I didn't want to get injured. It's not because you were choking me.
Yeah.
So
Thank you. Train again. That's it. Keep going. Proceed.
all right. Thank you, Taipei BJJ, Marshall Stamper. No, you're Marshall Stamper.
I'm Marshall Stamper.
I'm
Tahric Finn.
Thank you.
Hosts. Look, I do push-ups now. Nice.